The end of a crowbar. So I've got probably 100 crowbars, give or take, because I got them at an auction one time. Don't ask why. So, basically it's just that it was a nice cheap source of what is probably 1045. But I always end up with those little cutoffs because you can't turn to use that. So I might as well see if I can make something out of that. I just want to open that up a bit more. Now this is 1045. So that's another thing I'll do when I do demonstrations is kind of explain that nomenclature a bit. So the easiest ones to understand are the ones that have a four-digit number. The first two digits refer to the kind of alloy it is. The second two digits refer to the amount of carbon in it. So the second two are the easiest ones. So if it's 4,5, that means there's 0.45% carbon. So something like a mild steel, which is what you would normally use for something like this, would be like a 1018 or a 1015, which might also come out as A36, but we'll call it 1018. The 18 is 0.18% carbon. Steel is going to be somewhere between 0.15 and 1.0 in terms of the amount of carbon in it. So if you get 52 100, then the 100 means 1% carbon. Most of them are four digits, but once you get to 100, then if you get more than 1% carbon, it starts becoming brittle. Because this is not mild steel, I can't heat it as much. So the more carbon you add to the steel, the harder it's going to be, but also the more brittle. So as I would say when I do demonstrations, we keep adding carbon, we keep adding carbon, we keep keeping away iron. Eventually we end up with something that's 100% carbon, and it's now the hardest material on Earth, but also fairly brittle. So as a question for the studio audience, what's the hardest material on Earth? The answer is diamond. Diamond is the hardest material on Earth. Very, very, very hard, but also very brittle. The more carbon we add, the harder we get, the more brittle. So if I was to take a diamond and put it on the anvil, hit it with my hammer, the diamond would win. I'd get a mark on my hammer and a mark on my anvil because the diamond's harder. But because the diamond's so brittle, when I hit it, the diamond's going to shatter into dust. So I don't know, maybe if you wanted to take your diamond ring, we could test that. No? We get no. Okay, all right.
You need a new divorcee.
Oh.
So the more carbon we add, the harder we can make it, but also the more brittle. So if I'm doing something decorative, I really only need mild steel. I don't actually care how much carbon is in it. I don't need it to be hard. I don't need it to be sharp. If I'm making something like an axe or a hammer, I'm going to want like a medium amount of carbon in it. I want it to be tough and hard, but I don't need to make it sharp. There's no point making my hammer sharp. That'd be weird. If I'm making a knife, then I want my knife to be around 0.75. I think 0.78 is the magic number in terms of the amount of carbon in it. If I go higher than that, it's going to be sharper but more brittle. So anyway, about 0.78. Turn that on. Now we had an older gentleman who was one of our members. I don't want to call him out by name, but I remember from conversations with him, he didn't know any of that. So he'd been a blacksmith for decades, and all he knew was you had like mild steel, you had wrought iron, and you had tool steel. And that was all he cared about.
Was that Sean?
No, much older than Sean. Yes, much older. And you knew he was old, because I asked him where he went to school. And you know what he said? Old school. He went to old school. Ooh. Now it's not, he wasn't as old as Lloyd. Lloyd's really old. When Lloyd first started, iron was made out of wood. So you notice I try to rotate it. If I don't rotate it every so often, it'll end up getting way wider in one direction, way too narrow in the other, and then I go back and fix it. So when I'm really having a good day, I'll hit it twice, turn, hit it twice, turn, hit it twice, turn, hit it twice. I am not coordinated enough to do it more like once. I've tried a bunch of times to learn how to do it where you hit it once, turn, hit it once, turn, hit it once, turn. I can't. I have to do twice. I'm not coordinated enough. And so when you use a power hammer, same thing. You want to turn it every hit. And again, I'm not coordinated enough to do that. What you don't want to do is turn it and be hitting it while it's still turning or while it's on a 45 or something. That's no good. If you're trying to do that and you're like hitting it all the way around, don't go back to twice. If you can't do twice, do 3 times. But you have to be completely turned before you hit it. So just imagine. So I'm gonna have to curl those back again at some point, but I think first we'll switch over to here. Looked at me quizzically, but so I decided to build myself a shop. So I built this garage with 3 bays, but we only have 2 cars, so that's what I'm in one bay of it. It's not a very big space for the amount of crap that I have built up over the years. So it's about 24 by 14 because I stole a couple feet off of my own parking spot. And into all of this space I have the forge, 2 anvils, what used to be a hydraulic press, a lathe, a fly press, a treadle hammer, a drill press, a welder, another drill press, and then a vertical mill, and an air compressor. And as I'm sure Stephen can attest, it's kind of cramped. So, not as bad as Lloyd's shop was. You don't need a really big anvil. You know, a 150-pound anvil is more than enough. For pretty much anything you're going to do. So people who have large anvils are really just trying to compensate for something. So, did I mention I have a 500-pound anvil? What's probably more important is how firmly attached your anvil is to the ground. And that's where my setup probably leaves some room to be desired. So I've made a conscious choice not to attach my anvil to the ground. I can get away with that because it's heavy and because the base is pretty heavy. So this plate here is about 3/4 of an inch or an inch thick, and it's, you know, yay big around. And then it's got really big feet on the bottom of it. So we will start putting holes in that, but I'll probably just do it to make the point. So I'm going to hold it this way. I'm going to squeeze. And then we're going to go with one up here. So hit it once and figure out whether you like where it is. You can change it a little bit after that first blow. You can kind of dance it off to the side and then hit it. But if you go to town on it and then look at it and go, oh, that's not where I wanted it. Too late. You're done. So take that first blow, get it where you want it to get it, and then go from there.
Newman fire pot?
Newman, yeah, John Newman fire pot, yeah, which I really like. So John Newman's one of our members out of Hamilton, and he does a lot of casting and stuff for blacksmiths. So if you've got a chance to pick up some of his stuff, I'd recommend it. He does really nice work. And they're built by someone who uses it, so he knows how to design them to be effective. So we'll mark that other one and put a hole in. Now again, because I'm not at a demonstration, I can now go to a drill press later on today and drive that through. If I was demonstrating, I'd want to do that. So now we'll just curve that up. Actually, we could do it the other way. So I guess, I don't know what you think or what the audience thinks. You like it like this? Or you want it like this and we can curl those hips up the other way? What do you think?
I think move on to the door knocker.
Door knocker? Okay, so we'll go like that. There's our hole. So again, if we had our plate, that might be appropriate. Something like that. Okay, so